What is up, everybody? In this video we're going to be getting this thing kind of lined a little bit better and then hopefully take it out and drive it. So stay tuned. Alright, so jumping right into it here, we've got my toe plates here. These are just some pieces of like 1/4-inch fiberboard that I had laying around, and I cut them in half to put about the same size piece on both sides, and then cut a couple slots in them to put some tape measures in so we can kind of roughly get an idea. Now you can buy these things online like Amazon or so. They're about $100 depending on like where you get them from, but I didn't really want to spend all that money just yet. I just kind of wanted to get something rough idea, so this will give me a pretty decent idea. And if we get it kind of set up here, you can see this side is like 63.5, and then on this side we're just shy of 66. So there's quite a big difference between the front and the rear, which means we have a whole bunch of toe in, which means that the front edge of the tire this side is closer into the vehicle and the back edge of the tire is farther out. So let's see if we can fix that. So as you can see, I got the toe plate set up on this side, and if we come over to this side, we got the same kind of thing set up with the tape measures coming through on either side there. I cut a couple slots on this side as well. So ran the tape measures across there to the other plate in the front and in the back. That one's kind of sagging a little bit, so I'll have to pull it up. But what we're going to have to do is get to the tie rod end, which is this guy right there, this front bar that you can see. And we're going to take it off of the knuckle and then adjust it out a little bit so we can try to get some better alignment on it. So let's get going. Okay, so starting on this side, the nut that I'm going to have to get to is this little guy right here. And on most cars they've got a castle nut on here with a cotter pin through it. So first thing I'm going to have to do is get rid of this cotter pin, then try to break this castle nut loose so we can adjust it right here. So we have to take the whole tie rod end off of the knuckle right here to get the tie rod out of it so that we can twist it around and get our alignment set up. So first things first is to remove that cotter pin. So let's see if I can get that out without having to take the wheel off or jack it up or anything. Just like that. And on Miatas, this is a 17mm socket. So, let's see if we can break this loose here. Now that we got the castle nut off, let's see if we can get the tie rod end out of the knuckle. Now the easiest way to do this is to just bang on the knuckle right there as hard as you can, pretty much, to see if this thing will fall out. Last time I tried to get this off, I believe it was pretty stuck, so the only reason I had to try to get it off was because I replaced this control arm right here, because the one that I got the car with was a little bit bent, just like the other side, but not quite as bad. So put a new one on this side, and then I tried to get this knuckle off to try to adjust it here, but it was stuck. So let's see if we can get it off now. And bring in the big boys. Alright, so I finally got the stupid thing off. I had to get a pickle fork and shove that in between the two there to shove it in between there and pry it out. It was really pretty tough, so this thing really kind of needs to be replaced. I hit it quite a bit to try to get it to come out, and I kind of mushroomed the head of it a little bit there, so probably won't be able to get the bolt to thread back onto there. The part stores around me don't have them in stock right now, so I'm going to have to order one online. I'd really like to be able to try to drive this thing at least around my neighborhood today or tomorrow maybe, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my grinder and just kind of cut the top of that off where it's all mushroomed, and see if I can get a nut back onto there. And if I can, then I'm going to try to align with this side. If not, then I'll have to order a new one and we'll have to go from there. So we're going to try that and we'll see. Okay, so I dropped it back down on the ground, put the wheel back on, dropped it back down on the ground, and got this side loose, and so we're ready to I kind of got it close just up in the air, but we'll adjust it more since it's on the ground now. And now it's time to get over to this side and do the same thing over here. So, let's do that. Hopefully this side should be a little easier since it's all new. Fingers crossed. Alright, so now I finally got the driver's side off too. It put up a little more fight than I was expecting it to. As you can see, I had to use the pickle fork on this side again, and I kind of ripped the boot there a little bit, so it's not too big of a deal. These things aren't that expensive, but I probably will have to get a new one of these as well. So while I'm ordering the passenger side, I'll go ahead and order another driver's side, which are the same part, so I'll just order 2 of those. But now we can go ahead and get the our ghetto toe plates hooked back up and try to see if we can get this thing straightened out. So let's go. Okay, now by no means is this perfectly correct. But you can see what I did here is I leaned the fiberboard all the way up against the wheel, pushed the bottom up as close as I could, and then leaned the jack stand on it so it wouldn't fall back over. And if you can see, this one I've got 63.5, and this side right on 63.5 as well. So what I did to do that was I got the steering wheel centered in there where I wanted center to be, and then I just kind of rotated the wheels by hand to try to get to where I think they needed to be, where I thought they should be, and then just kind of visually look down the car to see, well, does that look like it's straight with the car, or, you know, are they just straight with each other? So, and it's by no means a perfect alignment. I'm going to have to actually get a real alignment once we put the lift kit on, but I just kind of want to take it out for a drive and see kind of how it does, you know, since I haven't actually really driven this thing. So since the front end was so screwed up, I wanted to try to get it closer. So that's all I'm trying to do here, is just try to get a little bit closer so it's not extremely sketchy and wanting to dart all over the road. So now that I got those about where I want them, what I'm going to do is crank the tie rods out to about where they should be, to where they line up with the actual knuckles, and then tighten them all down and see how it works. So I'm going to do that next. All right, and there we go. So that side's in there. I gotta tighten up the nut real quick. And same on the passenger side. So after we get those tightened up, then we should be able to see how good they are. All right, and so now that we got the front end kind of straightened out, we're gonna see if we can take it for a test drive. So what I did for that, I threw on my 2 taillights here, the 2 that are good. This side I was able to actually get a bolt in right up on this point right here. And then over there I just zip tied it in place to keep it from flying around. I have a nice little trunk latch here to keep the trunk from flying open. And I got my tag on there, so everything should be legal. And I've got headlights and somewhat working turn signals. So let's go ahead and give it a shot and see how she goes. All right, so start her up. Fires up pretty well, everything seems normal, so let's go ahead and go. And nobody coming. So, disconnected the power steering, so steering's pretty heavy right now, but the car is pretty light, so it's really not too big of a deal. Goes into second pretty well. There's a little click going into second. I think the clutch might not be actuating 100%, so we'll probably have to go through, maybe clean out the fluid and put some new fluid in there and re-bleed it and everything. Make sure that's all working right, because it does feel a little soft and squishy. So we also do need to re-bleed the brakes. We had to remove a caliper when we went and picked it up because it was seized. So when we took it off, we just never re-bled it, getting back on. So the other sides, other corners work, and my e-brake works, so that'll slow me down quite a bit. So let's see how she goes. So I revved out pretty well there. That was just first gear, about 3/4 throttle or so. Seems to pull pretty hard, just like it should anyway. Okay. And my turn signals are unhappy with me. I've got lights at all 4 corners, but the marker lights are also in that same signal there, same circuit, so I think they're unhappy. They're blinking kind of fast because of that. I can definitely tell the alignment's not perfect, which isn't really what I was going for. All I was going for this time is to make it better than it was. And I think we've definitely accomplished that, so that's a good plus. All right, so we've been driving long enough now that the engine's up to operating temperature, that we're right at just below halfway on our coolant gauge, which is perfect. When I drove this around a little bit last night, I do have working headlights, so it was pretty okay. And I let her get up to operating temperature and kind of drove around for a little while to see if it would overheat, and the car did really well, so that's really good, probably because of that new radiator we put in. But overall, she drives really pretty nice, considering how screwed up everything is, really. I still got a little bit of hesitation down low, down below like 1500 RPM or so, which I think is probably just because of the plugs and maybe the fuel filters. So need to get some new of those, change those out, and hopefully it should be a little less hesitant down low like that. All right, pull back in here. And there we go. Okay, so pretty successful test drive there. Car did just like what I thought it would. Everything seems to be working pretty well. I mean, we'll have to go ahead and do a real shakedown once we get everything sorted out, and really kind of put it through its paces to see how everything's going to be working and make sure everything's going to be ready to go to make it really handle and drive well. So in the next episode, we're going to be working on some more wiring, trying to make sure that we've got lights, all the lights working. We need to kind of figure out why the interior lighting isn't working, and work on some of the lighting at the back. And also, while we're back there, we're going to try to be hammering out and maybe pulling out and trying to get that rear quarter panel to look a little bit better. So thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, subscribing, and for now, peace out.